to Mr. Leek's free science tutorials. This tutorial is about mitosis, and we're basically going to be answering this question. Explain mitosis, include what happens at each stage and why mitosis happens. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run through what mitosis is. Mitosis is based on this diagram here, and there's tons and tons of different diagrams that you could have. It starts off at this side here with a dark one and a light one, right? What they are is their chromosomes. The chromosomes then replicate, and basically what you have is you have like an extra arm that then grows on the side, and each one of those little arms is the same. Then what happens? The cell starts to divide, and this is the actual process of mitosis itself. And what they do is they line up sort of next to each other, and one leg or one arm or whatever you want to call it goes that way, and one arm goes that way. And eventually that white one and the darker one, they then end up on this side here. That cell and that cell are then identical. That cell and that cell are also identical. So that's the process of mitosis. Why does it happen? Mitosis occurs during growth, repair and replacement of cells. So as you're growing, you need mitosis to make more cells. If you damage yourself, you need to repair yourself. Mitosis happens to repair that bone tissue, muscle tissue. Also replacement. Sometimes cells get old, right? And when they get old and they're not working quite as well, they may well die, and then you need a replacement of cells. This also happens as asexual reproduction. So that is then when there's no male and female, and it occurs by mitosis in both plants and simple animals. So mitosis is happening all over the place. The question says, explain mitosis and include what happens at each stage. That there is really an explanation of mitosis. What happens at each stage and why mitosis happens. This is then an explanation of why mitosis happens. And then the stages, often it's broken down into 3 individual stages. Stage 1, stage 2 and stage 3. In stage 1, it is growth. And it is DNA synthesis. So it's basically the growth and the DNA synthesis. Then what we have is we have the stage of mitosis. Stage 1, growth, is the increase the number of subcellular structures, e.g. ribosomes and mitochondria. So that's kind of like the point in it. Number 2, DNA synthesis, that is then the replication of it. So the 2 copies, so that is then when you're getting your extra arm or extra leg or however you want to call it growing onto each one. Then mitosis itself. One set of chromosomes is pulled to each end of the cell and the nucleus divides. This represents the nucleus. One set goes that way, one set goes that way. Then the cytoplasm and the cell membranes divide to form 2 cells that are identical to the parent cell. Right? So the genetic information is exactly the same. So back to the question. Explain mitosis and include what happens at each stage and why mitosis happens. So this is then what your question should be like. Mitosis. Mitosis starts off with one individual cell. That one individual cell grows and DNA synthesis happens, which is then the replication. Once the growth and the DNA synthesis has happened, you then have the mitosis process, and the mitosis process is then where one set of chromosomes is pulled to each end of the cell and the nucleus divides. Then the cytoplasm and cell membranes divide to form 2 cells that are identical to the parent. So that is then where the actual cell is then closing in. 2 diploid cells that are identical to the parent. Why does it happen? This happens because of the need for growth, repair and replacement of cells. Okay, that is then the question. Explain mitosis and include what happens at each stage and why mitosis happens.